don't know if you know this, but from Earth, no matter where you are on the spinning Earth, okay, that's supposed to be a sphere, revolving around other spheres such as the moon and the sun, NASA does not even deny that no matter where you are on the Earth, we all see the moon from only one vantage point. Meaning, the very craters and pattern that you see from the very angle you see it on here, it's the same angle that they see it from anywhere on Earth. How is that possible if the Earth is spinning and it is a sphere and the moon is also a sphere?
Right.
In other words, if you put the continent of Africa, let's say, on the moon, when we look up, we see Africa. That's what they're seeing in Japan. That's what they're seeing in China.
Meaning they're seeing the same, if you would point out a dark spot on the moon, they're going to be able to pick out and point out the same dark spot if they can see the moon.
They see it from the same, and it never changes. Never. It hasn't changed. Not only that, I didn't add before the transparency of the moon. The moon is proven to be transparent, where you don't see the surface on the disk. In the daylight sky, you can actually see the blue sky shining through the moon. It's not a reflection, because the light of the moon, if it were a reflection, would overcome the blueness. But instead, you see blue there. Not only that, at nighttime, you see dark gray. Why? Because where it's transparent, it's a little lighter because of the light, but you're seeing the sky behind it. And we also know that ancient civilizations have recorded that during the moon phases, crescent moons and whatnot, where the moon is empty, where it's dark, void of light, okay? But I'm still saying within the diameter of the moon, they can see stars. How could you see stars through the moon? Matter of fact, this is the real belief why several countries, especially, Muslims and stuff, have crescent moons with a star there, because they're actually using that phenomenon on their flag. That when there is a crescent moon, they have seen a star. Now, here's the thing. If the moon is a sphere, even if it's and it's not transparent, whether it's full or a crescent moon, you should not be able to see a star through it. But we know that you can see through certain parts of the moon. It's transparent, and I believe it's a disk. Their excuses, they say, well, that they're both orbiting so perfect that they keep that same view, even though they say the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour while revolving around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour, and we're all shooting through space from the explosion of the Big Bang at like 60-something million miles an hour. Everything is. But we don't feel any of it. And while we're all spinning and they're spinning, we're all doing this, they're all flying through. We see the exact same spot on the moon, no matter where we are on the Earth.
How are they able to prove that we're seeing the same spot on the moon?
Well, I mean, it's already been proven. Like, I'm not making it up. It's widely known. NASA doesn't even deny it. They just say that, well, we're both spinning at it's so perfect that, like, we're spinning with the moon in such a perfect way where it stays on that phase.
When they're referring to the dark side of the moon, they're talking about the side of the moon that no one will ever see?
More than likely, because we see the light side of the moon, so I'm sure that's what they're saying, the other side. But how could that be possible? How could we only see one side of the moon from no matter where you are on the Earth? It just doesn't go. And then here's the thing. As we look at the old Masonic pictures, and they all put the Earth model right in our face. If you look at it, you'll see this. You'll see a horizon, and they always got two pillars in front of the horizon. And on left, those pillars represent pedestals. On the left one, they have a globe Earth representing. They put the globe Earth on a pedestal, and then you'll see another round ball on the other with stars in it, which represents the astrology that they put on a pedestal. Meaning they both put these on a pedestal to lie to us. But when you look behind the pillars, you see a horizon and a sky, and you see a crescent moon up in the sky, and then you see the sun next to it. Now, if the globe is on those pedestals, what are we looking at behind us? Behind the pillars. They're showing you the real Earth model. You have the horizon, the moon, and the sun, and guess what? They're the same size, and they have a dome over it. And I was researching that, and this is a traditional Masonic picture, and there's different kinds of them. They change them, but they have the same principles. They always got the pedestal with the globe on the pedestal, the astrology on the other pedestal. Oh yeah, the Bible in the middle, the G for the great architect, the G and the A with which is the square and the scale. And then behind it, they have the horizon, the dome, and they have the sun and the moon. And the sun and the moon are the same size, the same distance from the earth. And they always draw the picture like that because they're putting it in front of our face. The thing about Freemasonry is not only were they builders, they are taught to implement the craft. You know, if the Freemasonry is a boat builder, he'll put symbolism of secrecy that another Mason, if they identify his boat, they know who he is.
Right.
Okay, and that's how they communicate to each other without communicating to us. They do it with buildings, with everything. So Freemasonry, you know, was a society that got together to preserve the right of free thinking. They actually were under the order of the Pope, the Knights of Templar. But when the Knights, you know, as they started to kind of advance and, you know, the Pope felt that they were getting too big for their britches because they, you know, there's two stories, you know, that they were rebellious or whatever and he had them killed off. But it's believed that they wanted to preserve certain truths and them not be controlled any longer. I think it goes way back even to Egypt, but, you know, as far as, you know, Rome being in control and all of them right now. So, yeah, but I was just thinking about all of that. Like, you know what? It appears that, you know, from what we can see and observe, the moon seems not to be a sphere, you know? And if it is, it doesn't move and we're clearly not moving. Well, it probably moves.
Right.
I think it's a disc,
Yeah.
you know? But, because we can only see that one side. I believe it only has one side.
Yeah, I actually question about being able to see. Why are we seeing like the blue during the day? Like that backdrop of the sky. Why are we seeing?
Oh, yeah. We know the moon is transparent, mildly, just barely. And not only that, if you put a Rubik's Cube in the air, right? Okay, now from one angle that you're looking up, you'll see maybe a perfect square. But as you start to move across the earth, you begin to see the other angles that let you know that it's a cube. As you move anywhere on the earth, you can't tell that it's a sphere. You always see the same flat surface.
How do we explain well, obviously they use CGI for space view and things like that, but what about depth? You don't think they use any type of satellite pictures or anything?
No satellites exist. The one satellite they use to try to claim their existence is ISIS satellite. But we believe it's a hologram. It's like a projection that's actually projected. Probably the way they're able to project it is because we have the dome over us. But and the reason we know that it's not real is because supposedly it orbits in the thermosphere. One gentleman said a honey-baked ham begins to broil or bake at 200 degrees. Well, in the thermosphere, temperature regulates from 700 to 1,000 degrees Celsius. So how come those people aren't up there cooking? You know, how could they just, you know, oh, it's supposed to be a man. This is a manned satellite vessel, you know. And
right, but what about robotics and technologies we send up there? I mean, how do we explain like cable TV and satellite TV and all that?
thousands upon thousands of satellites in orbit, but there's no pictures of any of them except for pictures that are CGI from NASA once again. And now we have cameras. We have cameras that regular people have that can zoom all the way up on the moon very closely. And no one has a picture of a satellite other than the ones that are synced for us. I mean, they're everywhere. We should see one floating past the moon like a dot at some point in our lives.
Well,
and not only that,
I've watched news broadcasts where they tell you to look up to the north or look up to a direction.
Yeah, that's the ISIS.
At a certain point, and you would see the satellite, moving by.
Yeah, that's the one, the satellite space, the ISIS. That's the same one. That's what we're talking about. That's the one that they use. And I believe because they got to always have something to reinforce the lie. You can't just lie. You got to have some kind of false evidence. Now think about this. This is what should blow the mind. Like we're not thinking here. Think about this. If it's this easy, where cable TV, everybody, phone stations, they all got these satellites up in space, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe that the companies really believe that they have a satellite orbit. I'm not talking about them. It's the government that lies. And this is all done to collect their money and to perpetuate the lie. They're just using satellites. But here's the thing. If just regular companies can afford to have a satellite with this technology, okay, now we're doing advanced weather reports and they show, supposed satellite images and different colorations of the weather. Why wouldn't they just send out a satellite that keeps a picture of the real Earth 24/7? And you can go to a weather channel, watch from the same, everybody can view it. Then we can see how hurricanes started and what's going on over here in the atmosphere.
Isn't that what they're claiming to do? If I went to the weather channel right now and I looked up satellite imagery, it's going to give me real-time satellite imagery.
They say it's a satellite, but I'm talking about real footage where you can see the whole Earth. You know what I'm saying? The whole Earth. Why don't they show us the whole 24-hour day of the Earth's spin?
If you go to like the satellite view, it shows at least one side of the Earth it's saying or claiming to at a time, and it's like that gray and black picture, satellite picture, and it shows like hurricanes and how big they are and how much landscape they're covering.
I'm not saying they don't have satellite technology. They do. That's taking pictures from high altitude. Okay?
Right.
But here's the thing. It doesn't have to be that it's orbiting the Earth. I mean, they got stuff that can just kind of scan and they can send waves of information. Like how a friend of mine was talking about how they had some sort of, not the regular police, but some of the agents, they had a thing where they would scan a building and they can tell how many guns are in the building and exactly what kind. And how it does this is when it scans the building, it detects the metals. And right away, the computer scans the dimensions of any metal in the building. And when dimensions come up that measure the exact dimensions of pistol measurements already loaded into the radar, it'll identify Smith & Wesson such and such and such. Because that's the pistol that has those exact dimensions. So we got things that can scan over areas and get an imprint and an outlook of what is scanned and show it on the screen. Okay? Right. But what I'm saying is I'm talking about, doesn't humanity deserve? I mean, they got us all hyped up into space travel and it was about seeing the moon and getting a picture of the Earth, right? And they felt we should see a picture of the Earth and we should experience this and know it. And for research purposes, well, dude, how come you don't by now just have a satellite that's actually watching the Earth from a vantage point of the Earth where we can see this so-called sphere of the Earth? We can see the clouds rotating around it from a distance. Yeah, you can zoom in at times, but we can zoom out and see. They can do split screens, and this is showing right now over the continent zoomed in over the continent of Africa. This one is showing the whole world spin, but they do not do that. They won't do it. Okay?
Well,
you know why?
Why? Go ahead.
Because if they do it, it's going to be fake because the Earth is obviously not a sphere, and someone professional enough, smart enough is going to break down how it's a fake. And that's why they haven't done it, because they can't do it. Because you would do it if you could, because you could see meteors and everything. Doesn't humanity deserve to surveil his Earth if we have the technology? It's not hard. I mean, it's no different than what they're claiming, sending millions of satellites out in space. I mean, regular cable companies have them. Like, you know, come on, NASA, you don't have surveillance of the Earth by now?
But I'm saying, how are we debunking these views that they send us? I understand the CGI, but what I'm saying is, right now, I'm actually going on the NOAA Satellite Information Service and looking for, let's see, I'm going under the satellite and the imagery and data.
Oh, okay. Well, I get what you're saying. Well, the reason we're debunking them is because whenever we go to any independent space researchers that now have cameras and rockets that can see the Earth from as high as we can go, we see nothing but a flat surface. And even from out into the blackness, you see the sun so close that it puts a hot spot on the Earth. And if the sun is 93 million miles away, then light would hit it, the rays of light would hit it on a parallel, not on different angles. The different angles come because of the closeness that it actually has to the Earth. That's how you get the angles, and that's why that's another one of their symbols, the pyramid going up to the all-seeing eye with the sun, the halo around it, because they're showing you in symbols, you can follow the angles up to the sun, and they actually say you can measure the distance by the angle and see that it's about 3,000 miles away, which is about precisely the same as the moon, and they're the same size.
Yeah, I find it interesting. I'm on the side of the NOAA, NOAA Satellite Information Center. I looked up satellites and imagery and data. All they're giving me is cartoon images and things.
It doesn't exist. And anything by the government is, why have they given us CGI after CGI? And they only claim that one picture is real, and that's from like the 60s or 70s. Why would they give us CGI after CGI when we got satellite? Just take a picture of the Earth. Matter of fact, put it on TV. Let us watch it then. Wouldn't that just be great for humanity? Why would you not do this? You want to give us pictures, but we're to the point, you want to amaze us, you want our tax dollars, we pay for this stuff. We're paying for them to do this. Don't we deserve?
Right. Billions of dollars on the space program.
Exactly.
Now look at this here. This is something else to consider. The drone boom, as of last couple of years, that has really taken off, and I am interjecting that possibly these images that we do have, drones have been around much longer than we in the private sector have even recognized or realized. So perhaps these images that they do have were beefed up drones that were able to fly as they are today undetected above a certain altitude where we can't see with the eye, and they could snapshot and take pictures of the Earth
with the fisheye lens,
and manipulate those photographs. So it looks like to us it's a new technology, but really they probably had drones since the 80s.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. It's not new. Like, we're behind. We're behind it as far as the technology that we've known. I mean, satellites have been supposedly orbiting forever. That's what I'm saying. Don't the people that have funded NASA and have paid for them $93 billion a year with your money, you're funding us. Right. You know, you want that's a selling point. That makes people want to fund you. Right. We feel safer. We can watch if an asteroid is going to hit our Earth because we can look all the way from space. Stuff like that.
So they're probably controlling, let's say this is the case that it's all fraudulent. They're controlling the viewpoints that we have. The government has exclusive control over these drones, and they allow us to have a little piece of it and to even fly them now ourselves, but you have to register them. That way they can track any videos or whatever that you've been taking in case you get too strong or too powerful or go too far. They could come and probably repossess that drone or that footage, you know.
And that's why the government stoops to such juvenile levels to actually, you know, get away from facts, but poking fun and giving opinions and assertions about people who they deem to be conspirators when they're nothing more than critical thinkers. They influence the public to make critical thinkers out to be, you know, aluminum foil cap wearing people that are just loony, you know, but we're critical thinkers. We're asking why. Why would you make someone feel degraded for doing that.
Yeah, the whole alien scare, if they had drones back in the 60s, 70s, and this is new technology to the civilian sector, but not to the government sector, that the aliens and the flying saucers, they could have done that a long time ago.